that means grave. That's used in the Old Testament, not the New. The only two words that are used in the New Testament to describe what we call hell is Hades and Gehenna. This word, where it describes where these angels went, is not that. The word in Greek is Tartaros. Completely different place in the underworld in Greek mythology. Completely different. Okay? Now, this same idea is also in the book of Jude. Jude, verse 6. And the angels that did not keep their own position, but left their proper dwelling, had been kept by him in eternal chains, in the deepest darkness until the judgment of the great day. Again, this word for deepest darkness is Tartaros. It's not Hades and it's not Gehenna. It's not the place where humans go. It's a separate abode of judgment for these angels that committed this heinous crime. Now, some would say what Peter and Jude are talking about is when they fell from heaven. But that doesn't describe all of the angels. How do you know that? Well, because there are fallen angels all around us. They're the demons. What makes these angels different? They did something wrong, specifically. And in each case, both Peter and Jude connected to the time of Noah. So early Christian writers held to this Jewish theory that what's described here are a specific heinous sin that these angels committed before the flood, that God put a stop to afterwards. Okay?
So were the Nephilim the children of the fallen angels and
Yes.
humans?
Yes.
And this book of Enoch, is that part of our Bible?
No.
What is it?
It is a Jewish book
Okay.
that is a reflection of some of the mythology of Jewish lore. Like I said, what makes the book of Enoch a little bit more intriguing is that Jude himself quotes from it in his letter. So it doesn't mean that everything in it is gospel fact. It just means that this tradition was that strong in the Jewish mind. Okay? So just keep that. It's not canonical. Jews don't consider it canonical, but it is a part of their tradition and their mythology that helps explain certain parts of the Old Testament. Now, that's a very strong argument. I could go on and on about this. The biggest, the most positive proof, I would say, biblically for this theory is that if you look at the Old Testament, only the Old Testament, the only time the phrase sons of God is used is to describe angels. It's never used to describe men. And a proof of that would be in the book of Job. Job chapter 1. I'm sorry, Job chapter 2. No, it's 1 and 2. Sorry. Job chapter 1, verse 6. Now there was a day when the sons of God presented themselves before the Lord, and Satan came among them and said, have you seen my servant Job? Blah, blah. So this is God and the devil talking when the sons of God presented themselves before the Lord. Who are the sons of God? Angels. It doesn't refer to humans.
But is it both good and bad angels?
In this sense, yes, because it says the sons of God and then Satan was with them. So it certainly refers to in the Old, this is one verse among many, that only in the Old Testament does the phrase sons of God refer to angels and not humans. In the New Testament, humans are called sons of God. It's the first time that that happens. Okay? So that gives a strong indication that when you read this account in Genesis 6, it says the sons of God came to the daughters of men. Well, who would be the daughters? Why call them daughters of men? Because that indicates that they're human and the sons of God are not. So that's again another internal wrestling with that. Your commentary doesn't hold that view. It mentions it, and it mentions how there are several Christian fathers that believed it, okay? Like Justin Martyr, like Clement of Alexandria, and others held that interpretation. But he holds that the interpretation, and this is also true for Jeff Cavins in this book, is that the phrase the sons of God refers to the holy lineage of Seth. They're the sons of God. They're the righteous lineage of Adam and Eve. As opposed to whom? The unrighteous Cain and his descendants. And it says that when they came together, they produced these, not necessarily giants, but these men of renown, warriors, heroes, ancient heroes of the faith back then. And the trouble is that when you mix holy people with unholy people, you don't get more holy people, you tend to get less holy people. And that's where everything degenerates. If the two kept apart, then there would be a distinction between them, because when they mingled, that's when violence and wickedness and all of this filled the earth. That's Scott Hahn, Jeff Cavins' theory as to what the sons of God and the daughters of men are. Okay? Now, there are problems and strengths with both of these theories. The biggest problem with the first theory is, how do you mix angels and humans genetically? Angels don't have genes. They're spirits. How do you mix that? They don't have genes. They don't even have slacks.
They can take the shape.
I couldn't resist.
They can possess.
Yes. In the same way, I think what happened with these, if you accept the first theory, what you assume is that these angels possessed men or possessed the women and manipulated them as they gestated their children, and that's what produced the angel-human hybrids. They couldn't pass on something of themselves because there's nothing in an angel that you can mix with a human that way. They're two completely different species. Okay? So there had to have been something that they did to manipulate genetically the human species to reflect that. But again, this is a problem that you have to work through with this. Okay? The problem I have with the Hahn and Cavins theory is that it's certainly not the most ancient theory. Like I said, the Jews believe this, that angels and humans interbred. And this was widely held by them. This idea that it's the righteous line of Seth and Cain, is frankly a theory I hadn't heard growing up. It was something that I read as a Catholic, and I thought, it certainly has the benefit of staying in theme with the rest of the story of Scripture, in that you have the righteous lineage of God and the unrighteous lineage of the serpent. And the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent are forever warring with one another since Adam and Eve. And it's culminated in the book of Revelation with the woman and the dragon. You know, that whole imagery. And when you look at the story of God's chosen people against everyone else, God's righteous lineage trying to make its mark on the earth against the rest of fallen humanity, it does make more sense. And it's just more logical in a respect. You don't have to come up with wild, crazy theories about how did angels and humans interbreed. Okay? I will tell you this. Nowadays, there are many people that look at this story and doesn't say it's angels, they say it's aliens. If you ever have seen Ancient Aliens, this is a big thing among ancient alien theorists that says that what this story really is about, if we were to translate it into modern understanding, is that these sons of God aren't angels, they're aliens that have been manipulating human genetics since the time of Noah. Now, I find that far more disturbing, but I think it's very far-fetched. I think you're trying to interpose your ideas into the Bible. This is an old idea. This goes all the way back to Eric von Daniken's Chariots of the Gods theories. I think some of the generation that I'm acquainted with, you may be more familiar with Chariots of the Gods and Eric von Daniken. You know, aliens built the pyramids, aliens built, you know, everything, you know, and we're all descendants of aliens, is what it is. Aliens from outer space. And that ancient primitive people saw these aliens and they called them Kukulkan, and you know, the great feathered serpent, and the promise of his coming back. Well, these are just aliens that taught humans how to build pyramids and stuff, and you know, with their lasers and whatnot, and that's why everything's so precise and mathematical, is because humans didn't do it. We're too primitive and stupid. We had to have aliens from outer space build them. Well, personally, if you ask me, I think that that's denigrating the human species far more. I think we're much brighter than that, and I would argue that the ancients had a science and a technology that has been lost that we don't know of today, but is not unheard of. I don't believe aliens built the pyramids. I don't believe angels built the pyramids. I think humans did. I think we're much smarter than we give ourselves credit for. I tell this to my students all the time in my geometry class. No, I say, no, humans are much smarter. If we built the Antikythera mechanism in 100 BC, we were much smarter than we know. So just trust me. Yes?
Just an interesting side note. I saw this Protestant film a few years ago where they argued that these stories of aliens are actually demons who have like taken the form of what modern people think of as aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it goes on and on. But one of the kind of proof things that they offer is that some people who've like been visited by aliens, like when they say the name of Jesus, they stop and they disappear.
I am of the opinion that a lot of what is termed alien abductions is demonic deceptions. And I think that there are some that may be different, but I think a lot of it is more demonic deception than it is people being abducted by aliens. I personally, that's my personal belief about that. Like I said, not all. I think there's some that's inexplicable, that's beyond that, but the majority of it, when you listen to the stories of people who have been abducted and what happens to them and what they're doing to them, they're more like the stories that were read in the Middle Ages of how incubi and succubi used to plague people than they are advanced beings from another solar system trying to learn about Earth. Because my idea is this, all right, and I'll leave you with this. I'm an alien from another planet. And I see this planet Earth. Ooh, look, it looks like there's life. What would I do?
Blend
I don't know about you, but I would say, hi everyone down there. What I wouldn't do is find some farmer on a truck in a Kentucky road, abduct him, do all kinds of sexual things to him, listen to the encounters, then drop him back. To me, that does not speak of an advanced alien species. That just speaks of somebody's wild idea or had too much liquor on the way back from the farm. We wouldn't do that. That doesn't make sense to me. So I think that there's far more deception than there is otherworldliness. So with that, may the Lord bless and keep you. May you make the Lord's face shine upon you and grant you peace until next week.
Thank you.